She was in my trunk, kneeling in the back of my SUV, pulling out bags of steak, chicken, and cheese I had just bought from Walmart. And when I told her to stop when I demanded she put my groceries back, she didn't apologize. She didn't even flinch. She pointed her finger in my face, screamed like I was attacking her, and called 911, accusing me of threatening her on my own driveway. That was the moment everything I thought I knew about living in a quiet suburban neighborhood shattered. I should back up. My name's Anthony. I'm a homicide detective. I work long hours, see the worst in people, and the one thing I always looked forward to was coming home, pulling into my driveway, and knowing this was my safe place. My wife and I bought a house in Riverside Estate Lane because it seemed perfect, quiet streets, good schools, big yards. The only catch was the HOA. Everyone grumbled about them, sure, but I figured how bad could they be? Turns out worse than I ever imagined. That Saturday started normal. Sun was out, sky clear. I'd just done the massive monthly grocery run. You know the kind. You need 2 carts, your credit card cries, but at least you're stocked for weeks. I pulled into my driveway, popped the trunk, and started hauling the cold stuff inside. Milk eggs, frozen pizza for the kids. I wasn't gone more than 90 seconds. When I came back out, I froze. There she was, Karen. 60-something wiry build, brassy blonde hair pulled tight. Always in that old leather jacket like she was still clinging to the glory days of an 80s Bon Jovi concert. And she was fast shoveling my food into her own tote bag like she had rehearsed this. "Excuse me," I managed, trying to stay calm. She spun around, dropped a carton of yogurt that splattered across the concrete, and for a split second, she looked guilty. But then, snap, her whole face twisted into this sneer of pure entitlement. "This is an HOA-sanctioned requisition of goods," she barked. "Your kind doesn't pay enough in dues to deserve premium groceries anyway." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. HOA-sanctioned, requisition the kind. The racism was so casual, it hit like a slap. And then she doubled down. She grabbed another bag, the one with my kids' snacks. "Ma'am," I said, my voice low, steady. "Put my groceries back right now, and we'll forget this ever happened." But instead of stopping, she pulled out her phone. "No," she hissed. "I'm the one being threatened here," and right in front of me, while still holding my steak in her bag, she dialed 911. "Do you know that nightmare where you're running but your legs won't move?" That's what it felt like. She was lying to the police while I stood there powerless, knowing exactly how this looked, a white woman screaming for help, a big black man standing in his driveway. I recorded her with my phone, made sure the camera caught everything, the groceries in her bag, the yogurt on the ground. But my heart was pounding. Sirens got closer, neighbors peeked through blinds. My whole life could change in minutes if the responding officers believed her version over mine. 2 cops arrived. One, young, eager notepad out, eating up Karen's damsel-in-distress routine. The other, older mustache, weary eyes, already skeptical of me. They looked at me like I was a suspect, not the guy with stolen groceries sitting right there in plain sight. "Sir, keep it short," the older one said flatly when it was finally my turn to speak. "Officer, my name is Anthony," I said carefully. Hands, visible, voice controlled. "This is my home. That woman was stealing my groceries. You'll find them in that bag right there. I have video." And I paused, deciding. I'm also a homicide detective. My badge and ID are in my car. That changed everything. The officer's eyes snapped up. His whole posture shifted. Even Karen went pale. The young cop stopped scribbling. In one instant, the victim narrative she'd spun collapsed. Still, she fought. She shrieked, claimed my ID was fake, pointed at me like I was dangerous. But the sergeant who showed up next wasn't having it. He looked at my video, at the Ring camera on my house, and then at Karen. "Ma'am," he said coldly, "lying to a police officer is a crime. Filing a false police report is a crime." Watching her face as he ordered the younger cop to cuff her. Finally, for the first time in my driveway that day, I felt like maybe justice was possible. But it didn't end there, not even close. The next morning, I got an email from the HOA, a $500 fine for causing a public disturbance and behavior unbecoming of the community. Sarah, my neighbor across the street, the same one who backed me up with her camera footage, got a $250 fine for improperly angled security cameras. They were retaliating. Hard. I sat at my kitchen table staring at that fine notice, my wife pacing behind me, furious. "She could have gotten you killed," she whispered. And she was right. For a moment, I wanted to quit. Pay the fine, stay quiet. I was tired of fighting criminals at work and tyrants at home. Part of me wondered, is it worth it? Am I just making things worse? But then I looked at my kids in the living room playing, and I knew. If I let this go, what lesson was I teaching them that people like Karen could abuse power, hide behind rules, and walk all over us? No, not here. Not in my house. So I fought back. I hired a civil rights lawyer. I gave the videos to Internal Affairs. And when the local news called, I answered. The story went viral. HOA, Karen became a headline. People everywhere shared their own HOA horror stories. Reporters camped outside the neighborhood. And the pressure mounted. Karen tried to salvage her reputation with the teary TV interview pearls on her neck-pink sweater, claiming it was all a joke gone wrong. But the footage of her screaming "You're kind" played right after. The public tore her apart. Inside the neighborhood, things boiled over. Residents called an emergency meeting. The clubhouse was packed, veterans, families, retirees. One by one, they stood up, airing years of grievances, fines for grass height, threats over swing sets, harassment over driveway cracks. It wasn't just me. She'd been tormenting everyone. Then Sarah stood and said what we were all thinking. The HOA is supposed to protect our community, not be the personal weapon of a bully. The room erupted. A vote was called. Nearly unanimous, the entire board was out. Sarah was elected interim president on the spot. The first thing she did was void every fine against me and her. But the real reckoning came in court. The jury watched my ring footage. Karen stealing my groceries, sneering "You're kind," making that fake 911 call. They heard Sarah testify about the pattern of harassment. They saw the text Karen sent her son telling him to scare that man into dropping this. The defense had nothing. 2 hours of deliberation later, the verdict came guilty on all counts. Petty theft, false police report, perjury, conspiracy. The judge added a hate crime enhancement. Karen was barred from ever serving on an HOA again. Her son got jail time for threatening my family. I watched her taken away in handcuffs, the same cuffs she thought I'd be wearing that day in my driveway. And I felt, not triumph, not joy, just a quiet, steady relief. That's where it ends. Karen's reign of terror was over. The HOA she weaponized was dismantled. The community, once silent and complicit, found its voice. And me. I learned a hard truth that day: when people abuse power, when they try to use lies and prejudice as weapons, you can't stay silent. You have to stand your ground. Because if you don't, they win. Never let a bully decide who belongs.